Hello, Trombone Internet. This is Chris Van Hoff, assistant to the regional manager of the International Trombone Festival. We at the festival, of course, are huge fans of the pod, and we are really excited to invite you to attend this year's 2024 International Trombone Festival at TCU in Fort Worth, Texas. Dave Begnosh is our host. We have the world premiere of a brand new double concerto for trombone and piano with the Fort Worth Symphony. We have the American Brass Quintet. We have late night jazz featuring a Latin jam session. Like, everything is happening. All the cast will be there. It's the best hang in the world, and we hope to see you there. You can register for the festival still online at www.internationaltrombonefestival.com, and it's happening the last week of May. So go register. We'll see you in Texas.
Welcome to the Trombone Retreat, podcast of the Third Coast Trombone Retreat. Today on the podcast, we hang out with international soloist and conductor Alain Trudel. My name is Sebastian Vera, and I'm joined, as always, by international microphone expert Nick Schwartz. How's it going, Nick?
I hate technology with my entire heart. That's how it's going.
Why?
Because my microphone, both of them, aren't connecting to this app that we use to record things, and it is incredibly frustrating.
Some people are born to use technology.
I am not, as you know. Whatever the opposite of the Midas touch is with technology, I have that. Everything I touch freaking breaks when it comes to technology.
Nicholas Schwartz, opposite of the Midas touch.
Yeah, don't ask me to do anything with technology because I will wreck it.
Well, I hope everything is going well besides that. This long process we've had here. Yeah, I just got back from Western Michigan, and it was awesome. I visited Western Michigan University and Dr. Steve Wolfenbarger and had an incredible time working with his incredibly talented students and talking to the music student body, giving a talk about life and music and building a career with authenticity. That was my TED Talk. But man,
authenticity.
I know.
What makes it more authentic?
Well, you're gonna have to tune in for that.
Oh,
but yeah, it's definitely not warm up there. I'll say that. Hey, Kiki.
Yeah, Kiki's involved in this podcast.
So if you enjoy the podcast, tell a friend, subscribe everywhere. Thanks so much to all of our new Patreon subscribers. It's been humbling and overwhelming. For as little as $5 a month, you can support the podcast. You can watch a video of this interview. I've had recent talks with Doug Rosenthal of the Kennedy Center Opera House Orchestra on the process of being the last man standing at 2 major auditions in the span of a week on the new show Now Hearing Candidate 1. And I just talked to Christian Griego of Edwards Instruments. He was our first guest on Meet Your Maker. He really blew my mind with a lot of fascinating information. Should know about equipment and life in general. Nick's been having awesome listening parties and posting trombone tip videos, etudes of the month. We're really excited for everything that's coming up next. And all of these things are archived forever at patreon.com/trombone retreat. What's your next listening party going to be?
It's going to be brass ensemble based. So trombones, obviously, but brass ensemble as a medium.
Medium. Awesome. Do you speak with a British accent the whole time? So you sound like...
Hey, not all brass bands are British.
That's true. So, man, we got to talk to Sir Alain Trudel, and it was an amazing talk. He's full of life and full of energy, and his backstory is incredible. I had no idea what his life was like before coming to the trombone and how it really fueled his career. And he's a bit of a trombone hero to both of us. I mean, we grew up on his recordings, his incredible recordings. And the crazy part was we had no idea he was a fan of the podcast. One day we just got a random message on Facebook telling us that he enjoyed it. And we Nick and I both texted each other and we thought it was like a prank or something.
Yeah. For me, it's always nice. I mean, we've experienced this a lot on this podcast, but, to have a person you admire artistically to turn out to be also a really swell person as well. And he was a very nice person, very bubbly personality, very, very lovely chap.
Conductors, they have plenty to say, So Nick and I are happy, thrilled, excited to announce the 2022. So is Kiki. Kiki's excited. The 2022 Third Coast Trombone Retreat will be happening May 30th through June 5th. We'll be welcoming Megumi Kanda, principal trombone of the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, and Rick Stout, trombonist of the Cleveland Orchestra. The final deadline will be April 1st, but if you apply early by March 15th or March 1st, there are some discounted early application fees. So check out tromboneretreat.com for everything you need to know about the Trombone Retreat. What is this, eighth year?
Oh, geez. I think it's the 9th.
Oh, my gosh. Well, one day I'll learn how to count years.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
It's the 9th.
Cool. So lastly, I'll be visiting Texas this week to be doing a live podcast event at the University of Texas at Arlington. There's going to be a special event honoring longtime principal trombonist of the Dallas Symphony and soon to be retiring professor of trombone at Southern Methodist University and my former teacher, John Kitzman. And we'll be interviewing him live for the podcast, talking about his career. I'm incredibly excited and honored to be doing this. He's a very special person, and I think there's a lot of people that don't truly know him on a deep level, and I can't wait to share that. So if you're in the area, come check it out. It'll be January 29th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the UTA Music Building. So yeah, come on out and come say hi. Special thanks to Houghton Horns for making this possible for me to get down there and supporting this trip. And I'm telling you, they're the best. Ask any horn player about them. And now they're bringing all that same level of knowledge and dedication to the trombone world. Trombones, mouthpieces, accessories, music, and more. Check them out at houghtonhorns.com.
Enjoy this interview with Alain Trudel.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm very good, and you?
Great.
So let me put some more light here. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's too much, huh?
We're all experts on looking good on Zoom now.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for doing this. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I never do those. I'm not big on those, but I've been listening to your podcast. They're amazing. You guys are great. I was so impressed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, like I guess a lot of people now, because it's like you can get deeper into what you want to talk about. You're not obligated to do a 2.5 minute bit. You don't need sound bites, anything. You can just have a chat, and then you decide what you do with it. So that's very nice. Nick, yours was very moving. It was like,
Oh,
yeah. No, really.
thank you.
Yeah, so our sole goal is to make you cry during this. So
It's like what is it?
we can
It's
get
like
there, then
on any given Sunday. When he goes on the sports show and you're not gonna make me cry. You're not gonna make me cry. And then
Yeah.
balls out. It's balling. It's like,
oh,
love
Jerry
everybody.
Maguire. That's
Yeah,
Jerry
yeah,
Maguire. Yeah.
Mr. Kwan. All right.
So thanks for the kind words. That means a lot, and it should go without saying, gigantic fans of you.
Absolutely.
Where are you exactly?
Right now I'm in Montreal. I have a place in Toledo, Ohio, and I have my place here in Montreal.
Personally, one of my all-time favorite cities, Montreal. Of all the places I've traveled to, that was like one of the top of. I could just move here tomorrow and be very happy.
It is pretty awesome. It's and to be born here is really awesome. Also, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and the culture, the fact that just right off the bat you're gonna have to speak 2 languages. I mean, you can live only in French if you want, but it's 2%, less than 2% of North America. So of course you learn English or Spanish, and in my case, I try to learn as much as possible. But no, it's really nice. Yeah, I'm happy you like it too. I mean, it's a pretty awesome place. Yeah. Where are you guys?
Yeah.
Are you in New York or?
I'm in New York right now.
Yeah. What about you, Sebastian?
I live in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I live in
okay,
Pittsburgh,
yeah.
And I'll actually be in New York with Nick tomorrow. So I'm
Okay.
excited to see that.
Have you ever done
Yeah,
with Pete in Pittsburgh?
That'll be coming up. We're very excited.
He's amazing.
He's one of our favorite human beings on the planet.
Yeah, we love Pete.
Yeah, I love Pete. He's great.
Oh man, we should just get him to sneak on this one. We'd have to give him a 2-hour tutorial on how to plug a microphone into his computer though, so that
this is true.
might be tough.
That's
okay,
why I love
so
him.
you were born in Montreal.
Yeah.
And son of a jazz drummer and a cabaret singer.
Hey, you did your research.
Did a little bit. So describe growing up in Montreal a little bit.
Well, both my parents were, of course, jazz musicians. But I don't mean, of course, they were jazz musicians, but of course there was no work. So I never saw them doing their craft. I never, my dad did many other things except playing the drums but I lived just with my mom. So I saw my dad just a few times. When I was young, I didn't see my dad until I was about 8 or 10. And when I saw him, of course, he wasn't playing anymore. The problem in Montreal, I mean, it's an awesome city, except that, they have the biggest jazz festival in the world. And then the rest of the year, there's almost nothing going on for jazz players. So it's very difficult to earn a living. But my parents were when they were young, it was where Main Street was full of clubs. So it was before disco. It was before the recorded, where you would just put a record on or have DJs or things like that. So it was live music everywhere. So they had clubs. My father, he told me that he would play at least 4 shows a day. So, he'd play like a set of top 40, and then they never played jazz, of course. They just, except when they play in strip clubs. So that was and each dancer had their own song, and you better know the song, because they get really mad at you. So, so the place they probably played the best music were in the strip clubs.
Wow.
My dad, by the way. I meant my dad, not my mom.
You hear that, kids? Best way to your foundation of musical training.
Yeah. You want to learn the real book? Go to a strip club.
Well, yeah. Well, back in the day, it was like that. So, and then there's a new mayor that came in, Mayor Jean Drapeau, and he said, "I'm going to clean up all of downtown. No more mafia, nothing." And all the clubs went away. I mean, it's good to clean up the criminality, of course, but all the clubs went away too. So there was no more work, and he wound up working for a cement company, and no link with organized crime. But and then my mom, then I was born after that.
So was it mainly, were you hearing a lot of jazz growing up? Was that kind of the main
that's the
thing
only
playing
music?
in the
Yeah,
house?
that's the only music that played at our place. Yeah, I think the first piece of classical music. Well, the first thing I played on trombone, I started off. I wanted to play the guitar, and I wanted to play trumpet. I always wanted to play drums, and then I went to. But we didn't have any money, so we didn't have instruments. I mean, I didn't have an instrument. I was just with my mom. So. And we're very, very poor. We're on welfare. We're very, very, very poor, the two of us. But there was a how do you say, kind of a community. It's a mix, a hybrid between a marching band, a brass band, a community thing. So it was just brass and percussion, but valve trombones and euphoniums and reading and all these weird clefs. For example, I learned to play valve trombone. That's how I started when I was 12. And the only reason was I wanted to be with my friends. We're in the street and trying to find something to do. And there was this policeman, guy who had a trophy engraving shop, and a guy who had an ice cream parlor. And they were teaching brass in an old school somewhere that wasn't used anymore. And they got the city to let them use it. And that thing was called Les Rythmiques de Montréal. A lot of really good players came from that, all from the neighborhood I lived in. Is basically very, very blue collar, not very rich neighborhood, which eventually, like now, it's like the most posh neighborhood in Montreal, of course, with the different generations.
How it goes.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So I started there at 12, playing valve trombone in the group. But before that, I didn't play anything. And the only music that I played were like Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, all the jazz singers. They were just singers that we listened to with my mom, because my mom was a singer. And that's she was singing. I never heard her sing in a concert or anything, but she sang in the house all the time. But unfortunately, when I was very young, she was very, very sick. She had a big cancer. Then she had to stop everything, and that's why we went on welfare also. And after that, I started playing there. I kind of liked it, but I really liked being with my friends. I really liked the community. Like when you make music together, like to do something together. I mean, that's something that really was appealing to me a lot, to be with my friends to start. But then I kind of, like playing, but I was like number 16. We had 16 trombones and I was the last one. I was like, like Tom Brady at the end of nobody will want to know anything about him, And I played the third trombone. First thing I ever played was a third trombone part of How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees.
Oh, yeah.
Great tune.
Yeah.
Well, those were the days.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I liked it. I continued. I always showed up on time. I practiced, and eventually I was okay. I auditioned for the conservatoire because it was free. All the music lessons were free in the conservatoire when I was young. And now it's not free, but it's not that expensive anymore. I don't even want to tell you how much it is because from America, you're just going to have
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take you to the hospital because you're going to faint and everything.
Correct.
But it's okay. Then I show you how much tax we pay and you understand.
It's just amazing, though, to hear, you had this talent that you were discovering at the time. And just to think about how hard it is. And it makes me think about, it's really cool, the history of a brass band, in England, how it arose from the working class. It arose from just giving someone something to do off the street, and it gave you something to do, and it nurtured this talent, having the opportunity for free lessons. It's like, how many people, to be a music major nowadays, especially here, I mean, it's such an expensive thing. It's such a risky thing. And being on, welfare and getting these opportunities, that's incredible. Well,
Sebastian, is that also it's so prepared now. You have to prepare your future at a very early age. It's like it's different. Life is different. I mean, in a way, there's way more pressure now. But for us, I mean, for me in life, where I come from, there was no only way but up, right? So I didn't think of anything at any time. I was with my friends. We do that. The friends that stayed on the street all got in trouble. Some died of overdose. Some were gang related. Things. No, it was a rough time. It was a rough neighborhood. And those adults that were there were very nice, responsible. The policeman who was involved with the group was actually a very good musician. He would, when we'd get better after, I stayed there 3 years. After the second year, a few guys started to be better, and he would include us in some club dates. We'd learn some tunes, and, because, we weren't that much into classical music. I mean, I think the first classical music thing, I mean, Bee Gees is not classical. It's a standard, but still, was maybe, Brahms' Fifth Hungarian Dance, an arrangement for the band that we played when I was maybe 13, 14, something like that. But I auditioned for the conservatoire basically to have lessons in my instrument because it was free. Yeah. You couldn't pay for lessons. So you do the other, but you never know life. I auditioned. They took 2 because the idea is that the classes are very small at the conservatoire. And the level of success is very high because they take very few students, right? So when you finish, a lot of them have jobs or things like that. So they took 2 and I finished number 4. So of course I didn't get in, but the first 2 didn't go. So the other 2 went in and I got in that way. So if I hadn't tried.
Opportunity.
Exactly. When it's there and don't get down on yourself. It doesn't work out. I mean, just showed up, play. And I had really good high register. That's the only thing I had. Like I had Bill Watrous high register kind of thing, when I was like 13, 14. Oh, no, it's serious. But I couldn't play middle F, under middle F. It was like mud. I also played a jet tone mouthpiece, which maybe explains a few things. So it was, we all wanted to be Maynard Ferguson, right? He's also from Montreal. But on all the instruments, the tuba, the trombones, I want to play like Maynard.
Yeah.
So we're all playing those mouthpieces and trying to play all these tunes and listening to his recordings. And so, of course, I knew jazz. I didn't know any classical tunes. So for my audition, I played Misty and I played an F scale. But then I played like 1 octave, 2 octave, 3 octave and the teacher said, "Whoa." Because I didn't have a good sound. You need one thing. You need to do one thing good, at least one thing. So he said, okay, that guy has range. High range, no range, high range. And he said, okay, do you promise to practice, this? Basically, they said, do you promise to practice 4 or 5 hours a day Oh yes, I'd say yes to anything just to get in, right? But they held me to the promise. I went to my first lesson. He took my mouthpiece away. He put another mouthpiece on my horn and said, "You play this from now on." And I lost an octave and I gained an octave.
There you go. Had you had lessons before at all?
Well, in dans les rythmiques, in the marching band, we didn't have like private lessons. We had instructors, but the instructors were the guys that used to be in the band and would come back to help out, kind of thing. You know, like the veterans that would come back. Veterans, they were probably like 18, that would come back and help us out. But some of the instructors were very, very passionate. Like, you know, some of them would go to master classes from the Chicago Symphony. They'd take their car and go and listen to them. The guy with the ice cream parlor was nuts. He loved trumpet so much. He just followed like Chikovitz master class and things like that. It was like, wow. And he taught us to this day, I still do the breathing exercise that guy gave me. And to this day, it's kind of basic yoga exercises. And those guys didn't have any, there was not a map, a roadmap of what to do. There was not a book. So they just figured it out. And that's what they taught us. It was very lucky because, you know, there's nothing that did any harm. A lot of good things, a lot about breathing, a lot about discipline. It was basically to show up on time, not being late. They had little trophies every month. Like if you were there on time, you could have a chance to have that or things like that. So, I mean, it's things to keep kids interested. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I mean, what kind of culture shock was it going from there to being in a renowned conservatory?
Well, you know, I was 12, 13, 14 in my band there, and we thought we were hot, whatever words I cannot say because you're doing podcast.
You can say anything.
We were hot shit, right? We went like, oh, this is it, man. We're like, so wherever we went after, we still thought we were great. Even if it didn't make any sense. We had this sense, because we did parade, we raised money to go, we played bingos. You know, like with the woman that's smoking like this. Hey, you gotta play. Like, you know, they all look like that, like Homer Simpson, the sister-in-law. You know. We would do bingo halls to raise money, because then we did a trip every year.
Wow.
One year we toured Florida, but the way to make money is that we played shows, we played parades, concerts. And like Busch Garden and SeaWorld and all. But we raised our own money to go there. So we were a very proud gang, very, and we all thought that, you know, the higher you could play, the better you were. So, you know, if you could play high, you could with confidence, of course, you know. Loud came
science,
after.
Of course. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. What goes up must make money.
Did I read?
Yeah.
Did I read that you also had a paper route, one of those classic childhood jobs?
Yeah. I had because I started liking trombone after the second year. First year I didn't do so much. I mean, I tried, but I don't think I had a very good trombone. I mean, because they're the instruments that were given to them, and I had a thing that was called a huddle, and with a big H on the thing, and the valves were kind of sticky a little bit. I have good valve technique because of that. I did 3 years of that. But then I started liking it better, and I thought, you know, maybe I want an instrument. Of course, we didn't have any money, so I started doing the 2 paper routes. And the paper of the Journal de Montréal is a big one on Wednesday and on Saturday. It's difficult for your back, you know, because it's a big bug, and I didn't have a little buggy because I could buy that. So I had just the bag with me, and I go, but a lot of people didn't want to pay their bill, right? So that's tough because you'd go to a place where they have like a few Dobermans in front, and they, oh yeah, come and get your money. I said, okay, it's okay. So no, it's not. I mean, you know, I earned my money to do that. You know, it's so I bought my first trombone. I bought a valve trombone at Twig Music, which is the iconic music store in Montreal, which I used to. And then I was like, I can't even imagine how much I love that instrument. You know, it's like I shined it and all that. Now, you know, I have my instrument. I mean, I take care of it, but, you know, it's like, it's over there. I pick it up, I play. I mean, you know, we still have a relationship, but it's different. Yeah? But that instrument was like, and it wasn't a great instrument. Then the year after, I bought a slide to go with it because to audition to conservatoire, they did not take valve trombone players. So I had to take an audition with a slide trombone. So I learned a tune, like I told you. I learned Misty, and I played that. And an F scale. So I had an F scale and Misty and tons of hiring. So they gave me a shot there. Well, they didn't give me a shot. The first two didn't go, right? But before that, I thought I had my trombone, finished my paper route, finished the brass band. I said, I'm going to do DCI. So there's a drum and bugle chord that we had in near here. There were 2 or 3 that did the DCI tour. So I said, oh, why not? I'm 15. I'm not. That's pretty much the only chance I'm gonna do it. So we did the DCI tour. We were the last one. We're like number 16.
Wow.
Yeah, les Arcs-en-Ciel de Montréal Nord, the rainbows from North Montreal. It was like, anyway, but it was fun. We played it was again all Menard Ferguson stuff, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I played and the bugles were very cheap. It was 1 clef and 1 piston, and in G, Anyway, so I did that. Yeah, in G, like so. I practice on my trombone, like putting tape on my 3rd valve and just playing with the first 2 because that brings it in G, right? Anyway, so that was back in the day. So then I went to conservatoire, but it was great. Conservatoire, there was no culture shock, except the only culture shock was the building, because the conservatoire was in the old courthouse in Montreal. It's immense, and the doors are like, it's like it commands respect. I don't know, do you watch sometimes Law and Order? You know what it is, right? When they go to the courthouse, well, you don't need to watch it, Nick, you're in New York. So, you go to the big courthouse, it's exactly the same. It's the same. So it's immense with the columns in front and all that. That was my school. I went, oh, wow, that's very impressive. And sometimes infrastructures matter. And it's bizarre, but, sometimes, for a kid like me, it was like, oh, so I take the subway, I do a few subway stations, I go out, it's a new world, it's something else. It's other kind of opportunities. You take it seriously. You're not going to go there not knowing your scales. You cannot enter those bronze doors not knowing. If your teacher say you have to practice B major at this speed, you're not going to go there not knowing it. You have your pride. You get there. So.
So how old were you when you finally started, and who did you start studying with at that point?
So I was 15 when I started at the conservatoire, and my teacher was Joseph Suskin. He's still alive. He was the second trombone. Well, he used to be first trombone, then second trombone of the Montreal Symphony. He was there for about 35 years in the symphony. So all the great recordings you hear from the 80s with Dutoit conducting, it's him who plays on that recording. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, interesting, because it's not teaching like we do now. I think we've gone a little too far, personally. That's just me personally. We've gone a little too far in being apt to conduct, like being good teachers. That sounds bizarre, but I'll explain. Is that now you have teachers like, we can pretty much teach how to play the trombone to anybody, and to play like efficiently. Maybe not musically if they don't have it in them. Maybe not, there's a limit to what talent the person might have. But, it's like we are going against natural selection a little bit. Is that there's so many people who can play okay because of the amazing teaching that's happening right now, that there's way too many people out there for what jobs they could be, and they can play okay enough to get halfway towards something, but they can never live their dream because they don't have the talent needed to go all the way. Once you've done everything you need to do, and you're in let's say, Nick, you're in the pit, or you're there, it's time to do it. There's everything that doesn't count, that you don't learn in school, that has to do with your musical talent, that gets you to the next step, that gets you out of trouble. And they're all the things that your colleagues say, oh, we like that person. Okay, it's the things you cannot touch. How do you call them in English? It's
intangibles.
Intangibles. Exactly, Sebastian. It's the intangibles. All the intangibles is that you can teach somebody who has no intangibles now, and they become kind of okay. And then you get to a gig, or you even maybe win a job, and you need to have those intangibles to keep that job and to have a career. Because there are things that, there's a reason why you won't come in before where you're supposed to come in, even if the cue is before. It's kind of a feeling that you have with everybody else. Oh, it's over here, right? But if somebody doesn't have the musical talent, they're just it's not gonna go very well. But and they can get. So we've been teaching so well that we can have. So my teacher just come back. He would teach the basics. He would say, okay, if you can't do this, you have a problem. It's like, it's not like I will fix everything for you. I will hold your hand until you're able to play 3 octaves. It's like, man, if you can't do it, maybe you should do something else, And it's, it's not only that. He was actually, he taught us. But it's like, it didn't go the distance to like, I'm going to fix every single problem you have. So then I say that.
Gave you responsibilities. And also you had to every week bring something that was a final product. Lots of studies, lots of not repertoire. I couldn't do vibrato in my lessons for 5 years. I was 5 years at the conservatoire. No vibrato. You have to play straight tone. I was only taught as an orchestra player, right? So
he wouldn't allow you to play.
Yeah, if I play a solo piece, but he wasn't big on solos. Just learn to play the scale, learn to play the trombone, studies, and lots of orchestra repertoire. I mean, I was basically trained to, as you would say, to be an orchestra player, which does make sense. We're all trained for everything, but he wasn't big on the solo repertoire. Himself, he loved to play in the orchestra, loved the repertoire. He was an amazing he is, sorry, I keep saying that. He's old, but he's in better shape than me. So sorry. But he's really something. He's at the end of his 80s, and he's like, he was a great arranger. I don't know if he's still arranged. I don't think he arranges anymore. And his love was opera. So we did brass ensemble, but most of what we played were opera synthesis of Tosca, Turandot, some Wagner, some of the. He loved Puccini. So a lot of things were kind of left field a little bit to what we know now. It's like we did a lot of, like you would arrange a Beethoven sonata for brass ensemble, for a piano sonata, and then we played that. And things like that. So it was very interesting. He was not big. I didn't know much trombone repertoire. He didn't know much solo. He didn't know. I don't think he knew like maybe 10 trombone pieces. I don't know. But it was a very, very old school. Very old school. And it's basically, it's a mixture between very demanding on some things like intonation, musicality, but at the same time, straight, and make sure that you get everything done. And I would have lectures on do I sleep well? Do I eat well? More than I would have lectures about, there's a little bit of air coming out on the side of my mouth here.
That's interesting, because I think a lot of people wouldn't guess, coming up in more of, French Canadian tradition, you had such a career as a soloist. Like, you would think that you were playing a lot of solos in your studies. But it sounds like you got a lot of that natural stuff from maybe even before the conservatory, doing all those bands and just loving music and playing that way.
And I played a lot by ear. I can read very well, no problem. It's okay. But for example, there's some music. I couldn't find the Bozza ballade when I was a kid, in the conservatoire. So I just listened to it. I had a beautiful Dennis Smith recording. Oh my God, what a player. And yeah. And interesting connection with Toledo, because he was principal trombone there. I didn't know. He had, and by the way, did you hear? Yeah, he was. Yeah, fantastic.
Because he taught at the University of Michigan.
Exactly.
And he's in LA, right?
Yeah. Well, that we've had some incredible, and we have some incredible musicians in our Toledo Symphony. That's another thing we can talk about if you want. But those guys are great. Yeah. But we lost one 2 days ago. Lowell Greer passed away. The incredible horn player. If you have a chance, for me, his Mozart concerto and quintet were like, it's life-changing, because, it's like it can be played like a violin. It can be played like a piano. So I think the biggest thing you're talking about solo is that I'm older. So that's that we didn't have the models. There weren't so many recordings. The only recordings that were out there when I was young were like Armin Rosin and Branimir Slokar, the few recordings. And then Michel Becquet came out with Trombone Extraordinaire. We all went crazy. But then the Americans, Dennis Smith had a great recording. There was like, wow, Ron Barron. Those guys are great musicians. Now we don't talk. Yeah. Yeah, we don't talk about them so much now. They're not like in fashion so much. But those guys are fantastic musicians, and they play more in an old school kind of way. But it's not like a bizarre kind of way. It's beautiful. So for me, like Ron Barron would come super often to Montreal to give classes at the Conservatoire because he was a second trombone in the symphony in Montreal for a little while, for a year
really?
actually. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
just before he won Boston. And Joe Alessio was also principal trombone in Montreal for a little while, but that's a little later. Got to know him there, and but that was a bit of a revolution. I said, "Oh, I can't gliss on every note. Oh, sorry." I said, "Oh, when I saw him, I said, oh, this guy is okay. He has his shit together." It's like, and it was no, very nice. So no, so I mean, the solos, I think it's because, like you said, of playing lots of jazz, that used to express yourself that way. I love the challenge of playing orchestra. I find playing orchestra very difficult. Like, to be just strict and just straight and playing. But I started really liking it at 15, 16, 17. We had an orchestra at school, but I couldn't play in the orchestra because I was too young. Because you had, different cycles. First cycle, you start, second, third cycle. And the fourth is the concours, is the end. But and you only usually play in the orchestra when you're third and fourth. But I was doing well before that. I played in the symphony before I played in the school orchestra. Because I was,
yeah, I saw you were
Really?
runner up for principal in the symphony when you were 17.
Yeah, I wasn't runner up. They didn't pick anybody. They had
Oh.
they had no, but it was the finals. There were only two of us. So I practiced, and then I played. When I was 16, they had what they call a radiothon with members of the symphony, and they were looking for a trombone player. My teacher didn't want to do it, so he sent me, and I played with Ellis Ween, the tuba player from the symphony, incredible tuba player. And they didn't have a principal trombone because Stuart Taylor went back to Israel at that time, so Dave Martin was there, and Pierre, was it Ted Griffith or Pierre Baudry? Anyway, Pierre was one of my best friends. He studied in school too, and he won the bass trombone job. He's for the bass trombone players out there, he's the one who plays the Lowy and the Planets. Again,
Yep. Legendary.
yeah, I know. and he didn't. Pierre is funny. He's worse than me. He has no idea. He just plays and he said, but he practiced. Pierre plays every instrument. Every instrument, like flute,
you mean
piccolo, English horn, clarinet, guitar, cello.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's his love. He does that, and he goes and he does shows for kids when he's not playing that E in the Planet. He's just doing. So no, he's amazing. I mean, he's with the symphony every week, But he did his chamber music diploma on the tuba at school. He's amazing brass quintet tuba player, and he plays bass trombone, of course, in the symphony. But he plays everything. He's a very interesting guy, and amazing musician. Anyway, so I was very young. I was 16, and I played with the section. And the tuba player, Ellis, he slipped a piece of paper in my pocket. That's Ellis. He's like that. And I went like, I got home and I said, I have a piece of paper in he said, if you're ever serious about this, give me a call. If you ever get serious about this, because, I was kind of talented guy I played mostly. I love playing, in the clubs and playing Latin music and doing shows at night and playing jazz. Because back then there was still a few gigs. I'd love to do jam session because it gets your adrenaline going because you don't know when you're going to play something. Sometimes you don't really know the tune. So you spend the time that they're playing trying to go over the change in your head, listening to the melody and then taking a little something. And that's what's fun about jam session. It's a little bit like when you do open mic for comics, right? You have 3.5 minutes or 5 minutes. You try to do something. You read the room. You try to blend with the show. I mean,
Yeah.
when you do that, I mean, people should not laugh when you're playing, but it's a little bit like the stand-up thing. But so I read the paper and I went like, what does he really mean? Well, I said, the audition is coming up, and then so he gave me lessons. And Ellis was renowned to be not the guy who would share so much, but for me, he was amazing. He had me at his house. He had built this, it's kind of a rocky kind of thing. he had built, like when you have a bags with potatoes, what's it called? Is it called hemp? Is the material? Like
burlap.
Yeah, burlap. Yeah, he would put like 10 or 15 of them on each side and 10 or 15 in front of me. He made a box like this, and I have to play my excerpts for him for hours and hours, and he would stop me for every little note. And so I got some like real training, and of course I play for my teacher also. And I decided to do the audition. He said, if you're serious about doing this, he meant coming to play with us more regularly, which I said, hey, I'm 16, 17. I was going to be 17.
Yeah,
said,
nice job.
Well, hey, when you're that age, the check is also interesting, and you don't always think about, oh, yes, I'm going to play Brahms. You think like, hey, I'm going to make some money. So I said, yeah, that's cool. I'm going to try it. So there was an international audition. So we had about 90 players. And at the end of all the rounds, it was Dave Martin and I from Montreal, both from guys from Montreal. We played very well. And I played the alto in the finals. The jury wasn't too hot on me playing the alto, but my solo, I played Wagenseil, and then I would play the excerpts on the alto, which was not that popular in the 80s to play alto a lot.
Oh.
But it's okay. I mean, I played well, and they were happy with it. But they said, man, he's way too young. So basically what they did is they said they offered Dave and I to play in the symphony every alternate weeks. But there was not really alternate weeks. Dave played more than me because he was much older. He must have been 20, It's like, so we did that. He did the tours. He did the bigger things. And you don't want to bring a 17-year-old principal trombone on tour with you when it really counts. You don't know if they know what they're doing really. I wouldn't do it as a conductor. So I'd get cold feet, so I understand that. Then they kind of, before Pete came, they offered me a position, which I didn't take, and not the principal position. And then because I had an offer to go play.
Why is that?
Well, I was young, and I had an offer to go play principal trombone in Barcelona in Spain. And I want to live in Europe.
Oh, man.
And then Pete came, and then I went like, oh, he's so great, but we played a lot together back then. So I was basically the jack of all trades. I would play second, I would play first. Like in Berlioz' Symphonie Funèbre et Triomphante, the thing with the big trombone solo. I don't play that. I play principal tuba. I play first tuba on that recording. So I play on a few of those. It's whatever they needed. I would do. I have no ego. I was just happy to play, So that was like, well, yeah, sure. And I did not have a chair. I didn't win an audition. I was in the final, but they call you, you go, you play. That's fine. Then I had this principal job in Barcelona that I really wanted to go, and with a conductor I loved. He's one of the greatest conductor I worked with, Franz Paul Decker. It's funny how many of those conductors, those great conductors, were not the best people. It's but I mean, it's a very autocratic time still in the 80s. So not to say the rest, but I guess it's. I remember Dutoit like destroying every player one after the other on the line in the section. I'm like, I think I was thinking to myself, I was 17 and I was thinking, are we going to play much better after this? Is this I don't want to be pampered, but there's a in between, anyway, it's just, that's the way it was. So whatever. It's like, it's, and you look at the movie.
Well, now all conductors are just so nice all the time.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
No, but I like the way. Anyway, for me, I prefer to be to think of a collaborative spirit. At the same time, you cannot. You still have to make the decisions. And sitting in the orchestra, it's like when you have a soloist. The soloist must have the idea of how his concerto goes. It's not like, oh, let's do chamber music, whatever. You play your piece, we play with you. But as a conductor, you need to know where you want to go, but be open to what's coming up. If in Toledo in Laval, our clarinet player starts and plays something that's incredible, but that we never thought of doing, but he goes like an echo somewhere, and I'll just point to him, and I say, well, let's go with this guy, and that's normal, and then it motivates you to create even better music. But that's it's not all about one person, and we all know that. It's good that it's getting to the front of the orchestra.
Do you think that's something that you appreciate more uniquely as a trombonist that's become a conductor, since trombone is such a we instrument? You know, we sound good or we don't sound good, that collaborative spirit?
I think absolutely. I think playing in the orchestra, one, playing an instrument that plays in the orchestra. Two, I've been playing in the orchestra for quite a few years. I mean, not quite a few years, but enough years to play enough repertoire. And the love of it, I mean, orchestra repertoire is the most beautiful repertoire. It's incredible. Ballet, opera, symphonic, everything. It's like you have string quartet, you have symphonic repertoire. Those are like, wow. That's where the composer bears their soul, The quartet, more personal. The symphonic is like, wow, there's something, they build a universe in that, and you have the privilege to be part of that. So I think we're more like, as a conductor, you're supposed to feel that you're supposed to enable everybody around you to play better. That's the job, is to make sure that, everybody can play at their optimum when the concert comes. Now, back in the days, in the 80s, it was by putting so much pressure on everybody that they would have less pressure at the concert, maybe. I don't know. I don't understand. But maybe it was that. I don't know. Violin teachers were often like that also. You go to your lesson, you're shaking your boots, and then you play the concert, oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, maybe that's a technique, I don't know. It's possible. But for me, it's not like that. It's a work in progress. So we're progressing towards doing the best we can there. And also to feel that if they feel that they have a safety net, like I'm more of a safety net, somebody like, they're not really together, you can, no, lean on me. I'll make all of this fit together. And if, and you do what you have to do. You don't do more than you do what you have to do. You have to play beautifully what you have to play. I'll take care of the rest. But for me in the orchestra, when I was sitting there, it's basically you learn from other people's mistake. You look in front and you go like, I'm not doing that when I'm there. and sometimes you go like, this is amazing. This is inspiring. I'll keep that in mind. So for me, it was great because I had so many good and so many bad examples as well. Most bad examples were not musical. They were human related, I think. But, and also,
yes.
And it was a lot like, like I'm taking all my insecurities and the fact that I'm nervous and I'm distributing to all 85 of you, and it's like, it's not supposed to be like that. I'm supposed to absorb all your nerves of all of everybody because I don't have the responsibility to make a sound. No, you don't make a sound when you're a conductor. Look, I'll give you a very good example. Nothing happened. Okay. So the least you can do is to make it.
But that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense. Though it's like the energy that you're giving is so powerful, right?
You need to have the experience. Have the experience of playing when it matters to be able to do that. I think to have the pressure of playing, of producing, of being in an orchestra. To have your solo coming up and, feeling like, oh, I'm shaking in my pants, and to feel, or to feel the wave of the orchestra. Like you were talking about the we factor of a low brass. Like, playing a chord. What is more satisfying than playing one of those chord, like, a fifth, a tenth, that's like, whoa. It's, I think about it. I have like goosebumps, it's like, just placing the third at the right place and just, and we play more vertically a little bit. So a lot of, when you conduct, sometimes you think of the architecture, but being a brass player and especially a low brass player, you have this aspect of the chords coming and playing jazz, the progression of where it's going. So anyway, everybody has their own thing, right? I mean, this is what, for me, this is, you come to work, you say you leave your coat, and the hanger, but you do wear your life everywhere you go.
Wow, I like that.
I have you're talking about the baton not making any noise, or when I first moved here to New York, I heard stories about a very famous conductor who I will not name, and he would like to get in front of the orchestra, and if this was a baton, he would say, okay, Mozart 40, and he would go, late, you're all late. Just
Can you describe what you just did?
It just,
for the people
that
can't
if you have
see.
a baton, you don't move your arm, you just let the baton drop.
It's not a mic drop, it's a pen drop. It's like, but yeah, there were very funny stories in the symphony in Montreal back in the day. It was like We had one violinist who was a very smart ass guy, and he would they play a Bruckner symphony, and the violinists very often when we play the tune, they play daga 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 daga, they do.
Yeah.
And he would turn to the guy next to him and say, "Hey, you're rushing, man." And things like, I mean, I remember once Dutoit stopped the orchestra and he told the guy, he said, I'm not going to say his name, he said, do you know where we are? Do you know where, to tell him he was lost? And he would say, no, maestro, I'm lost too. It's all of these things. I like those stories. I mean, I like them less when they happen to me, but I love those stories. But, I mean, it's a community of people. For me, when I go to the orchestra, I feel the same as I was in my brass band when I was young, because we're all together making music, and
that's amazing.
Well, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter, where you went to school, where you lived. We're all a microcosm of society in the orchestra, and it just. It's as long as people don't take themselves too seriously, you can do amazing things. The minute the people become very important of the instrument they play, my fifth is so important, and this, things like that is, then the music goes away. But if you can have a good spirit, then it's really one of the most beautiful things you can do, and people can take example, because everybody needs to make compromise in an orchestra, and in society, if we can. Just think, I mean, sorry, I'm getting all philosophical, but it's true that if we can think more of how we do in an orchestra, and there's a lot of compromise going left and right without talking about it. It's like, everybody knows how they want to play Beethoven 5, but we have to play it one way, So if you have 60 people in front of you doing Beethoven 5, first of all, they've all done it more than the other next to you, and they're sure more than you. But, I mean, I've done it, 50 times, 6 times, but some people have done it 500 times, So it's, but you have to come together and it's not just a question of compromise. You have to come together to something that you think will be in the respect of what the composer had in mind. And that also makes it that we can all play this together. You can make so many parallel in life and in society like that. Things we're not doing. People are being selfish sometimes. And it's we live in weird times anyway, but I mean, this is one of the few things that you cannot change. I mean, it's like slow food. An orchestra can never become fast food, That's the way it works. Rehearse, you have to sit together, play together. You have to figure out what the other people do. You can't just put a click track and just play to it. If you do like a soundtrack, you need to go with the image, yes. But, just play a Brahms symphony. Something's going to happen. So there's something beautiful about that, very inspiring.
I like that. I like that with the idea of orchestra cannot become fast food. That's great. That's a really good way of looking at it.
It's impossible.
So how do you view your role, that being said, and that collaborative spirit, when you went from the back row to the front row? And I want to talk about how you got there, but how did you experience your role changing, or did you have to really think differently about how you experience music?
Well, what I really wanted to be in life was a composer. So everything I'm doing is to make do solution. So all of it is the same for me. It's like I started off. I was when I was on the brass band, we're playing. Then we're all writing charts, all my friends and I, and trying new things. Then I went to I didn't tell you about my high school, because my high school was a very rough high school, and it closed after. Well, it's a little bit different here in Quebec. We have elementary school until 6th grade, and high school is one school. We don't have junior high and high school, and it's only 5 years. Then we have another school before university. So in high school, after the 3rd year of that school, they closed the school. It was too rough. Gangs and prostitution, drugs and all that. So they just closed it. They said, find another school. Everybody who's finishing it, we're closing the school next year. And that was, again, an opportunity, because I thought, I'm going to go to a school that has a big music program, And there are public schools like that you don't have to pay for with music programs. But you have to audition. So I auditioned for this old French clarinet player who used to play. He was an electrician in the Second World War, and he went after that to play bass clarinet in Cincinnati in the opera. Then he came to Canada and played in Halifax, and then wound up in Montreal teaching high school. Fantastic musician. Rough, like old school French. You talk about French Conservatoire. He has the best solfège ever. And it's like, I have very good solfège, but that guy, incredible. And I had to audition for him. I auditioned by reading 2 complete study books. After 32 studies, he said, okay, you're not faking. But because by then I had a year of serious study. And then he took me at the school. So I was able to go to that school. So when I started at that school, they had an orchestra and a band. We're only like 30 students, like 15 doing a band, about 15, 20, no, maybe 60, 30 in a band, 30 doing in an orchestra. And we're doing like, easier versions of, like New World or Brahms One, but easier versions at different tonality. But still, you're playing and you get really inspired. And we had another teacher that taught a choir and also music appreciation. And that was eye-opener for me, because then first time I heard Romeo and Juliet Tchaikovsky, first time I heard Shostakovich, first time I heard Kodály, first time I heard the French composer, I was like, oh my God. And I was in high school and I said, this is what I like. So I started writing music. So I would always be bugging everybody to play my tunes. I wrote the quartet. Let's play this together. Let's do that. So you're always organizing events. You're always writing things or writing arrangement, writing charts. And we always had to raise money for the school because it's public school. So we have to raise money for our program. So we even played, we had a German band with the, Lederhosen thing. We played that, and I played tenor tuba on that. Well, the real tenor one, not the one the French horn play, but the, the one they play in the Oompa band. I played a lot of that. And I played a lot of that to earn a living after that. It was very good. It's a nice instrument, actually. And and then I kept organizing things. And then the first time I heard the Stravinsky Soldier Staff, I said, that's a great piece. Let's try to do that. Organize that, wind up conducting it. So from the age of like 15, I kept organizing things, writing them, conducting them. That's kind of without knowing it, I was going the old school conductor route where you organize, you're the organizer, you're the person who conducts it, you're the person who puts the show together. We all come together, we do it. Okay, and then sometimes you find money to pay it. And you keep doing that, and then I become répétiteur for the school touring orchestra when I was in conservatoire for a few years after that. So I, not conducting the concert, but rehearsing brass winds, rehearsing percussion. Eventually, much later on, I did more with the strings, but that was when I went to Toronto. So I think it was very gradual, and my teacher in the high school saw that, and that's why I'm talking to you about high school, is that Raymond Grignet, the teacher, saw that, and he said, hey, you come here and you conduct a little bit here. Okay. He made me conduct like 5 minutes a week, or, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, with a band, with an orchestra. So I've had podium time since I'm a teenager, without knowing that he knew what he was doing. I had no idea what was happening, but he was going like, we're going to do Figaro, but I want to go and listen to it. You do a little bit here. Okay. I would do it. And so by the time I was doing more and more professional things, I would go like as a trombone player, I'd go to Akio Shidai to do the Yamaha thing that we did there. I went there like, 6-7 years. And whenever they needed something, Mark Gould would conduct or I would conduct, so it was like, he would conduct like the band thing. I would conduct like the chamber thing, like Histoire du Soldat or Stravinsky Octet or whatever, or Dvorak Jackson. So we wind up doing different things like that. So it was very gradual. So there was not a time where I said, I am switching. Or it's going, it cannot be like that. You cannot improvise yourself conductor. I mean, a lot of people do with the success we know. But you cannot improvise yourself. You need repertoire. You need to know, I was studying scores, I was 15. I was studying Brahms, Mahler symphonies. The minute I knew, not Mahler, Tchaikovsky when I was 15, but the more, like the ones that you like when you're a teenager, you hear Tchaik 6 and you go nuts, or you hear Shostakovich 5 and then you say, okay, I've discovered what life is. It's like, okay. and then you learn that, you go crazy, and then you want to write like that, and you wind up writing a bunch of things that sound like something else, like somebody else, but it's okay. My teachers always told me, well, you're getting the hand of it. Nobody told me, hey, you're copying. They just told me, yeah, it's coming. And, of course, that's almost in the garbage now, but it's like that.
I'm curious between, orchestral playing, conducting, and I think what a lot of our listeners would be really interested in is learning about how you transition to becoming a soloist, which a trombone soloist, especially then, still now is such a rare thing. How did you, were there some opportunities that happened? Was it putting out recordings? What kind of spurred this on?
Well, when I was a teenager, there was I only went to one music camp because music camp, they cost money, huh? And even if I started playing, but I wasn't making any real money before I was 17. Playing every other week or every 2 weeks, and then the symphony. But before that, when you make money playing in the salsa club or the other places, sometimes before you see the money, it's not always that night, right? So the payroll is not so official sometimes. So we didn't have so much money. So to go to a camp, I need to have I went to Orford. That's when I was 16. 16 was a big year for me. Between 16 and 17, I kind of, my eyes opened. I went to Orford, which was a big music camp in Quebec here. And I went there for 6 weeks. I got the bursary to go for 6 weeks. So it didn't cost anything. They said, okay, you're in conservatoire, you did the audition, it went well. They accepted me for that. And so there I started oh, okay, learning more. You are in contact with other musicians. When you guys were talking about, what's that place, that school in, is it Interlaken? Where you're in contact with other people. It's kind of how do you say, fame of classical music a little bit? I don't know. I don't know it at all. I have a lot of colleagues, American colleagues, who talk about it best thing that ever happened to them. And you guys too. I listen to the broadcast, and it felt a little bit like when you guys talk about that, it was like, oh, wow. But from my heck of the woods. And a meeting with people from international camp and other players, and discovering that there's something else than what I've been doing, and there's something else out there, other kind of music, other kinds of musicians, other kinds of ideas. And for me, I was like, oh, wow. So I started listening to all these soloists playing the viola, the cello, and all, because basically it's more of a string camp, but they have other things too. And I wanted to play too, and they have auditions for soloists every week. So I said, well, I'm going to play this Debussy little song that I know in trombone. So I played that. It was, good success. Not very hard, right? But, you're on stage playing that, and I knew the words very well, and I was kind of thinking about the words, and they said, oh, so they made me play in a bunch of concerts, which was fun. I felt like, wow, I can be part of the message from the beginning to the end. I don't come in at the end with the summum of of everything like we do often in the orchestra and trombone. Everything we play is important in the orchestra and trombone because you don't play so often, but then everybody stops, then we play. Or they play, and then we have to play over that and with the most important theme. So it's another job, right? But it's like, okay, now if you don't have the trombone, if you play this Tchaik 6, the first movement, you don't have trombones. When you get to the second, the third part of it, it's like you shouldn't play it anyway, right? So it's like da yam papa da sol fa fa. It's like wow, but for me it was like, oh, I'm playing a tune. Then I learned the Vivaldi cello sonata. Then I played that in concert. Then I played other things. Then I kind of discovered I had a lot of times because we only had to play orchestra during those 6 weeks and brass ensemble. It's in the countryside. It's beautiful. It's great, and I just practiced a bunch of solos that I found for trombone or I found for other instruments. And I came back to school and I told my teacher, hey, I think I want to do more of that. And he said, well, fine. But as long as your scales are fine and you don't do vibrato in your lesson, I'm fine. You can, but you have to understand that at the Conservatoire in Montreal, we have our lesson, but we also have 1 hour a week with piano that's included in what we do. So I had my lesson, but I also had an hour with the pianist every week. The pianist is a coach.
That's amazing.
Voice coach, but we had coach for all the instruments when I was young. So
wow. That's so awesome. Oh my God.
My coach would come and would go oh, do you know those Brahms songs, the serious song? Do you know this? Do you know that? And I was like, oh, And I started. So that year I played everything I could get my hands on. And I didn't have all the music, but I either learned it by ear or I just tried to find the music. And it's funny we say that now. Now it's you go click on a button, you have everything. But yeah, back then it was not that easy. But anyway, so I started doing that, and I loved the alto, so I started playing the alto trombone. And then I saw that you could enter competitions. So I entered the solo competition. There's one that's called the International Stepping Stone, which is for all instruments together. And they just pick a few winners at the end. And I did the Montreal Symphony solo competition, which I got a first prize. I won the Montreal one with the Frank Martin Ballade, which I played with the symphony with Charles Dutoit. And yeah, it's funny because it's the same day that Joe won New York.
Is there a recording of that somewhere?
I don't know.
Is it really?
Is it?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe yeah, it was a big trombone day. I had my debut with the symphony, and Joe won New York the same day. So it was like,
wow.
Yeah. And it was a lot. I mean,
is there still recordings of that
I don't
performance?
know. I don't know. I don't have one. I have a. You know what I have though is
we'll do a deep search
somewhere. I have a bootleg of a quartet with Pierre Elliswain, Joe Alessi, and I playing a quartet concert. With of course Joe playing like a monster is incredible, but it was fun. I always have a lot of fun with him. We get along really well. We're very different, but we're like this. It blends very well. So he's great. He's amazing. So it's easy. But yeah, then I did this competition. I got one of the first prizes of the International Stepping Stone, which was the concert was a pianist that won, a violinist, and a trombone player. So I thought then I went to Barcelona, and when I was there, I was going like, you know what, maybe I could try this, maybe I could just try like Maurice André, try to do something like that, because I was always a big Maurice André fan, I think as a brass player, I mean, I can cure almost any disease I had with my face or whatever by listening to half an hour of Maurice André. It was so ding, ding, ding. It's so well placed that, when I'm all over the place, I just, oh yeah, that's how it goes. Okay, thank you, Maurice André. And it helps a lot. So I came back. The conductor was super mad at me because they offered me tenure, and I said no. Instead, I will quit. So I came back and I said I'm going to try my luck at doing solos, And he said, "You're crazy. It will never work." And he was super mad at me. And I did my year. I did, and then after that I just didn't stay. So I tried that. And that was interesting. It was not easy. Then Christian came out with his first recording, and we said, well, if that guy can do it, it's possible. He's an amazing player. And then I was in Montreal. The interesting fact, I was in Montreal. We're playing Pulcinella with an orchestra playing. And of course, Pulcinella is a trombone solo. We finished. This guy comes to me and says, "Hey, sounds great, man." I said, "Hey, you're Christian Lindbergh." I said, "Yes." He was playing a concert in Montreal. So we hung out a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I got to hear him, and I went like, oh, wow. It's possible. Like, Slockhart did some. He did, of course, he did the most. But, that I said, why not? There's place for voices, different voices. It doesn't have always to be a violin or a piano. But I did a lot of concerts. I went up to 120 concerts a year. That's the most I've done. As soloist.
That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah, that was most of my 20s were doing that.
So what was the thing that really got your name out the most? Was it putting out recordings?
Yeah, I think recordings are very important. Playing at some of the trombone conferences. I went, I did like 8 or 9 of them. I think I did. If it's for me, I'm not there. If it's I did some of those. That's important because it's in the trombone world. But the most important thing is to get out in the world in general, So I think the Naxos recording I did, like the one was for the alto trombone with the Albersberger and all the other concerto, and the one that's called Art of the Trombone, which I do not play bass trombone on list. I don't know. People keep saying he plays bass trombone on this. I don't. I don't play bass trombone. I play very, very bad bass trombone. So I stay away from it. I just had a bigger mouthpiece for that piece. But those recordings did a lot.
That's all you need.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, but I know, but I can play better French horn than bass trombone. And I don't know why. I can play bass trombone with my tenor trombone piece, but it sounds like a tenor trombone. It's like I just can't do it.
There's good reason. It's because bass trombone is God's instrument.
Yeah. That's Nick. All these years I was looking for the answer. Finally, I did your podcast, and I know the answer now. I will start on bass trombone tonight. I'm throwing my other trombones away. I'm playing only bass trombone. I'm only playing like old G bass trombone. It's from now on.
Oh, I have a G bass trombone. Those are hard. Woo.
Yeah, bless your little soul. Yeah, ouch. But those recordings, like the one with the alto trombone and orchestra, that sold, I think, 75,000. So that's a big,
Whoa.
that's a huge. Of course, I didn't get any money from it, but it's a buyout with Naxa, so it's fine. But no, but they make you well known. Competitions help, but it's still always in the realm of the niche of trombone players appreciating other trombone players, which is fine. But it's, like stuff like Christian did, like Jorgen does, like I did, is more like for people outside of just the trombone players. I mean, for me, it's super important that that people who play trombone think I play okay. But I mean, the other people need to hear, what a trombone can do as well.
You know what also I think kind of helped the success of those recordings was they sound incredible. I don't know.
Thanks.
I was listening to the alto recording this morning before here, and it's just some you see there's nowadays back then, I don't want to date it or anything, but like you were saying, there was only a certain amount of recordings available, and now the quantity is, you can listen to some guy at South Dakota State Technical College play his senior recital, and often you tell your students to go to listen to recording, and they're like, oh yeah, I listened to this thing on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
It's like there's so many amazing things out there.
Yeah, I know.
That sometimes I feel like they're not looking for, right?
Yeah, that recording was...
If anyone hasn't heard all of your recordings, they need to.
No, that's nice. And they're cheap. Don't knock us. Woo! But you know what? But I mean, I have a lot on Atma. We did an Inorota with Yannick Nézet-Séguin a few years ago. I just did the Jacques Quetzu last year, Jacques Quetzu Concerto. I recorded and conducted on that album. That's a tough one. And that's a very hard concerto, but that's a beautiful concerto. And but that album, that alto trombone recording, they saved money by not heating the church, and it was in February, and Northern Symphonia in England, and they would put the heater for a little while, take a break, put the heater, start recording, take the heater off, and we'd record until it gets too cold again, and then they start the heater again. So, and Naxos they give you 2 days. You put your sessions in 2 days, and you rehearse or you record, that's your business. But you don't have more than 2 days to put it together. So we do a lot of, but you do a lot of rehearse record, Like, you rehearse for a little while, then you say, okay, we'll record this concerto. Then the heater goes up again. Then you rehearse. But it's tough for brass instruments. Because, when we go cold, it's tough, you take a break, you take the instrument again, and it's super cold. It's like, ugh. And you're recording it, and you're going like, of course, back then, I didn't. You always know, even if you don't. You want to act like it doesn't really matter, but if you're doing a recording, people are going to listen to it. So you want to make sure that, you're okay, that the pitch is not all over the place when it goes hot, cold. So that was a very challenging recording to do. And it was very quick.
So you'll have a 2-day recording session.
Yeah.
Like
2 services.
So that's a lot of pressure. That's a condensed time. 2 services.
Yeah. So that's,
so how much prep time would you need personally to prepare the repertoire? Would you start really? By
that time, I was playing alto every day all the time. So or I was 25 or something like I don't know, maybe 27. So I was right in the thick of it, playing 100 concerts a year, going on tour, playing a small venue, big venue. So it was just like, just go out and play. I mean, there was you don't need to prepare. I mean, you're always another great that just passed away, Dale Clevenger. He used to say, you asked Dale if you warm up, so I never cooled down. It's like, because he's always playing, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, it's true. He was like, always like, ugh. But you get to points in your career that it doesn't mean, like now, oh my God, I really have to practice if I'm going to do something. Because I spend months without playing sometimes. And it's not because I don't like playing. I love playing. It's just sometimes I don't have the time, But I got a good training 17 years ago because I got really sick and I stopped playing for almost 4 years. So starting again was... I thought that was over by then because I thought I had a pretty good run. I'm conducting a lot. I said probably won't play anymore, because I'd stopped for so long, but it started again, so it's okay. Yeah.
What was that experience like? I mean, and of course, and we're not in the business of making you talk about anything that you don't want to talk about, but how did that come about? And so did you just cease doing all musical activities during that time?
Oh no, I'll talk about anything. I'm an open book. It's not a problem. But well, very interesting. I mean, my mom was she had cancer when I was 3 years old, and I was kind of I have a kind of blocked my memory between 3 and 5 or 6 because I was kind of her good luck charm. She took me everywhere and back then, again, we're a lot of back then today in our discussion, but back in the day, they had cobalt treatment, and they didn't have. It wasn't so evolved, so it was tough, So she spent the rest of her life being pretty feeble, so that's why she couldn't work so much, and my dad was not around. It was complicated. And she always said, if I get this again, if I get cancer again, that's it. I'm not, by the time I was an adult, she told me, I did it because you were a kid, at 3 years old, but now you're older. If I get it again, forget it. She got it when she was 66. By the time she finally went to see the doctor, she was 68 because she knew it was happening and she didn't want to. I said, Mommy, we're going to do something about this, And she said, no. And I'm okay. I said, Mom, that's fine. It's like, let's try. I mean, I have 4 kids. I said, you have grandchild. And I tried to convince her. It was none of my business to convince her. Everybody has their own thing, but it's my mom. I didn't want her to go, and I, she's a very entertaining person as well. Imagine if Diva, who had 14 minutes of fame, so that 1 minute, man, that's a chip on your shoulder. It's like, I got to get my last minute there. So they make a big spectacle everywhere they go. It's just incredible. My kids, they loved her. It was like the most entertaining grandma ever. But but she decided now and it was tough because it was pancreatic and stomach. So pancreatic, like goodbye, So
the worst.
I combined her it was about 2.5 months, and there was a very nice. Sorry, hospitals are free. So we even had the palliative care wing in the hospital. They put me a bed there. I stayed 3 weeks with her at the end. Yeah, no, we had a very so nice going away. I mean, there was nothing like, I wish I could have told you. We said all our things in life, but I stayed with her. The kids came. My kids, one does music. The other ones are very musical, but they don't want a career in music because they say their mom is a violinist, and they say we don't want to have your life, your career running over doing all this. My daughter wants to have a life with her boyfriend or kids.
So they're smart.
Yes, they're smart. and my daughter has 2 kids already, and she's 30, so not already, she's 30, so it's not.
Grandpa.
Yeah. Call me papi.
Yeah,
yeah. So she has a good life. She's very, very, how do you say, even and well-calibered person. She's great, So of course she cannot be a musician. But my sons are in mathematics and science. But one does beats for hip hop artists, and he also has 2 metal bands that he leads. So he's a composer also, and he's
amazing.
Dark metal and hip hop. That's that.
Yeah. I love it.
He's great actually. Yeah, no, he has they have recordings out. So he's it's very heavy. His guitarist is good, and the other one is he's more in science. He's in quantum physics, but he also does stand-up comedy. So I think it's a break from all the head work.
What a combo!
Yeah, I know. They're very bizarre people.
Yeah.
I love them very much.
My gosh!
And the other one is 5, so we don't know yet. But those kids, they were around and they loved music. We play music with my mom when she was at the palliative care. They had a big room. So they brought guitars and amps and we played some stuff for her. She was very happy. She went away like that. And then she went into a coma, and that lasted about a week. And then she went away. And I don't know if you ever noticed this, but often you stay with them every second. And you go out to get a coffee and that's when they die. It's like, sometimes you say, okay, I'm done. Thank you very much. I want to do this by myself now. Maybe it's something as humans we like to do alone. I don't know, but it's just a moment. So anyway, so she passed, and then I got sick but it's the same region. So I had to like convince myself I'm not gonna die. Because it's all the same machines, all the same treatments. It was like, it's not the same cancer. It was very, very.
What were they telling you? Like originally when you got the diagnosis?
Well,
what were they
I
saying?
was playing a concert with a group I had that was called Kiosk, and we're playing. That's a tough group. Only 7, the same group as Histoire du Soldat, Soldier's Tale, but playing kiosk music from turn of the century, and lots of playing because there's so few people. I was playing with the concert, and then I felt like, oh my god, that's it. I'm getting appendicitis. I never had one. You always think, people say when they had the appendicitis, it hurts like crazy. You have to go to the hospital. So that's what I did. I went, they operated, and usually it's like this, right? You go and they take it out. Then I wake up the next day, I have a sickness like that, and they say, "Oh, Mr. Trudel, we have a little news for you." So it's not appendicitis; it's a very rare form of cancer called pseudomyxoma peritonei. And I'm like, "What?" And it comes from the appendix, and you had 15 pounds of it inside of you. So
Oh my
What?
gosh!
well, the good news is I lost a lot of weight that day. But
Yeah, did you think you were just gaining weight during that time?
well, I did. Well, I'm comfortable. Let's say, but I wasn't. No, that something was wrong. I felt there was. But they say this has been going in your body for a few years, and it's a gel that comes out of your appendix, and then it fills you. And the only treatment that existed. You really want to know about this? It's a little disgusting, but I'll tell you. It's not bad to talk about it because a lot of people who get that, they think their life is finished. So I have a good life. We talk about it. Maybe some people think that, it's possible to have a good life after. So, yeah. So it's a gel that it's a stage 4 cancer, but it's contained within the entire peritoneal wall. So it's a bizarre stage 4 within itself in a gel that's everywhere in every organ. But it's not like going to spread in your brain or things like that, It's very bizarre. It's very rare. It's 1 case in 1 million. And, of course, they made the joke, you should buy a lottery ticket or whatever. Those people, they see stuff happen every day, right? So they have a good attitude about it. I have a good attitude, too, so it's fine. But I said, okay, so how do we beat this? They said, well, the only treatment that existed until 5 years ago was the debulking. So they open you like a fish, like from here to where it's important, and they open you and they take everything out, and then they close it again, and then you go a few years and they have to do it again. They do a few years, they have to do it again. Eventually you die because you don't have any strength to go through it again, right? But some guy in Washington, University of Washington, the state, I don't know what's the name of the university, sorry. His name is Dr. Sugarbaker, and he came up with a technique that he said, if we do this and we open you up and we take everything out, and then we do chemio like at 50 degrees Celsius, and we stir it for like an hour inside of you, and then we close you up, and then we reset, we close you up, you have a better chance. Maybe that works. So that's what I got. So I said, okay, well, let's do that. But as musicians, you guys have done auditions. You know it is. Are you focus? You see yourself walking. We do a lot of visualization, and you see yourself walking in a hall. You see yourself. I remember the first trombone conference I ever played, like the big one. It was in Germany. I played a concerto. Slocka was before me, and Limburg was after me. I was a nobody. I knew everybody was everybody. Anybody was in the hall. I said, my God, how am I going to do this? I imagined the hall. I imagined walking. I imagined picking up my trombone. I practiced picking up a trombone without being nervous, for a while. Because sometimes you pick up an instrument and you breathe really tight because you're nervous and you haven't played a note, but you're already set up for a disaster. So you just say, relax. When you put the horn next to your face, it's a relaxation. So you have to condition your mind. So I went like, you know what? I'm going to treat this as a big time audition and just go and focus. This has to be done. This will work. I'm going to go on their showtime. They do it, then I'm out of there. So condition. But an audition has a date. An operation doesn't have a date. They give you a date, but it's never that date, right? So they called me up. I had 10 days left. And they say, it's tomorrow. So I went in. And it's okay. But I had great surgeon. Surgeons are aggressive people, like really great surgeon. Well, all surgeons are aggressive. They're like, the guy said, I see it, I cut it, I burn it. I said, fine with me. I said, we're going to get you through this. And the guy was like, maybe 30, 32. I'm like, oh my God. You know what you're doing, right? He said, absolutely. Okay. There's 2 teams in Canada who does this only. Montreal, and there's one, I don't know if it's Toronto or Vancouver. Anyway. So, but by that...
Surgeons don't lack confidence usually.
No, and that's one... No, but listen, it's like, if you're going to start conducting the Brandenburg number 2 and the trumpet player is going, I don't know, man. You need to have confidence sometimes. It's very important. Sometimes you need to have like a blind meathead confidence, So, not saying my surgeon meathead anything, but he's a very cultivated person. He's great. And so, anyway, they did it. Worked fine. The danger is the 24 hours after because it all can collapse. I had a little bit of problems, but not so much. And then we had a really funny time. Do you know Monty Python?
Of course.
Okay, do you know The Meaning of Life?
Mm-hmm.
The movie, So, when they come in the organ donor part, where they come and they say, we're coming for his liver, and the guy's not dead. They're just coming to get his liver if he's still alive. So my friend Pierre, the guy who's the bass trombone player in the symphony, Mr. Low E in the Planets, Pierre, we're very, very good friends, So he came dressed as a doctor after my operation with a pad and everything. Said, yes, we're coming to talk about your organ donation. You might not get through this, So I was so confident that we're just making jokes. No, I mean blind confidence, like as confident as we can be as brass players. Brass players, we have to be so confident because if we miss, the farmer who doesn't know anything about music knows you've missed because he goes, If Avant missed, nobody knows, it's out of tune but for us, I mean, it's just, anyway, I thank a lot my training of life, it really helped me a lot. I was very confident, and but that's 17 years now. So I'm out. There's only data for 12 years. So after that, it's I guess it's gravy. So I'm just every day is great. Yep.
Well, that's incredible, and this question is going to lead into the rapid fire questions that we have at the end of every podcast. But going through that experience. I mean, I imagine there had to be moments like, obviously you don't want to dwell on them, but there are moments that were you considering like, okay, I might not make it through this. And by getting through it, I mean, did you look at life differently?
I've always been I'm very grateful for life since I was young. And, you look, I went to see the shrink, like all of us, we all wind up at a shrink at some point. Or many points. and he said, well, basically, Alain, you have to accept that you're an anomaly. Your background, you're not supposed to be where you are. Where you came from, what you're doing. You have to accept that you're a nice anomaly, but it's an anomaly. So it's difficult to explain. Don't try to make too much sense of it. I mean, it's just, of course, it's good to be grateful. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember, we didn't have much and I was super happy. It's like, it's just like that, but it changes. It's funny because there's a threshold 8 years after the operation where you go from 0 until 8, you have 20% chance of dying, which is kind of 1 out of 5, But then if you pass 8, then it's 4%, and the entire 8th year was the worst year of my life. It was like I thought like, oh no, I'm not making it. Oh, I'm not feeling good. Oh, I have this. So I was fine for like 8 years, And I had to stop playing for like I played a little bit here and there because I didn't have a problem with my chops. I didn't stop playing because of focal dystonia or something like that. I stopped because they opened me and they destroyed my diaphragm, So they told me, start when you feel ready. But you don't play for 6 months. You don't play for a year. It's time to be pretty comfortable if you have other, I was conducting a lot. I signed my contract. People had a lot of faith in me. That helps, I will say that on the floor of the hospital where I was at, I was the only person who couldn't wait to get back to his life. All the other people were like, and they were like, the self-pity and all that, which is very understandable, believe me. I mean, you're next to somebody who has an open wound or something like that. But I signed my contract to be conductor of the radio orchestra on my hospital bed. That's how much faith they had in me. they saw you're coming back from this, Alain.
Incredible.
And I had, lots of messages from my colleagues and, not trombone colleagues, but, from the colleagues, and I have my friends and my family. My kids were young. What really kept me focused were my kids, because they were very young. They were like, 2 were under 10. So that it took a lot of that. But then, a new life comes, and I wouldn't say that you have to, that you see life differently. It's just, you have an urgency. That's the one thing. It's not like I'm grateful for it. I was always grateful. But there's a sense of urgency because it might finish. You have a sense of your own mortality, which I didn't really have all that much before. I don't think anybody really has until they go through a near-death experience. You have a sense of your own mortality. So, yes, you want to make the most out of it, but you want to savor every moment. So it's kind of, you go fast, but slow motion while you're going fast is kind of impossible to explain. But you do that, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, in a weird way it does, yeah. But anyway, so I just happy. But who made me play trombone again? Was Pinkas Zuckerman. Of all people, a violinist.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah, because he said, because I was on the staff of the conductors of the National Symphony in Ottawa, very beautiful orchestra, and Zuckerman was the music director then, and he said, we're going to do a tribute concert. It was end of November, beginning of December, I don't know, 13 years ago. He said, we're going to do, anyway, some time ago. He told me we're going to do a tribute concert to Jacques Etu, who wrote this many symphonies, a great Canadian composer. And he said, he wrote a concerto for you. I want you to play it because you're going to play. I said, well, I'm not really Pinkas. I'm not really. No, wait. And you don't say no to Pinkas, right? I don't know if you know him a little bit. He's a tough guy. So I said, well, he said, listen, it's next year. I went like, challenge accepted. And I said, maybe, I have a year, right? So I said, well, okay, yeah. So maybe it's the kick in the butt I needed to do it. So, but the next year in his mind was January. We're December. So it's 6 weeks. It's not a year.
Oh, jeez.
After I said yes.
Gotcha.
He did it on purpose. It's like, he said, he probably didn't do it on purpose. He doesn't care. But so he said, yeah, so it's that date in January. I said, 6 weeks? I got to get back in shape. So that's when I started finding a technique that I can get in shape really fast, but while doing only almost basics. It's very bizarre. Like I need about 10 days to play a concerto. If I haven't played for a month or two, I can do in about 10 days, I can play like a big concerto. I'm okay. Or recital even. Yeah.
Jeez. Awesome.
Yeah, but I need, but
I would love to, maybe on another podcast, I would love to hear about that.
Well, I write studies every other day, a little fundamental study. But the big thing is that you don't play anything for like the first week almost. You have to be super disciplined, patient, and stick to fundamentals. It's hard. I mean, 'cause when you're a professional player, after a day and a half, day one, I don't know if it's like that for you. For me, it was day one, okay. Day two, the gutter for a day
Absolutely.
or two. Absolutely. It's the worst. It's like I've never played trombone in my life, But then you have to stick with it. And by day 4 or 5, usually, like you guys, you probably, fine, go and play. For me, it's like I have to stay patient until day 8 almost. Then I can, drago. I can do the move. But before that, it's really basics, note per note, almost like flexibility, finding my center, moving, putting more meat in the mouthpiece, everything you can imagine on those basic things. So anyway, I started playing again.
That actually answers one of the rapid fire questions I was going to ask. So that we can thank Pinkas Zuckerman for bringing you back to the trombone for us.
Well, him and his wife.
I've heard that recording.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to that recording the other day of the Etu concerto. Beautiful playing.
It's a cool piece, huh?
Wait,
yeah, it's a cool piece.
That was the one you came back in 6 weeks to do? That sounded great.
No. That's a year or two ago. That's a recording I did with my orchestra. My Laval Orchestra. I have 2 orchestras. I have the Toledo Symphony and Orchestra Symphony de Laval. I have my kids, my family, and I have those 2 families.
One of them I can pronounce, and one I can't.
No, but they're really families to me. They're like, these are things that keep me every day. I think about players in my orchestras like I think of family. It's bizarre. It's just, I don't know. They're so wonderful. Just I'm very moved when I talk about.
So they must like you a lot.
Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's like, you don't always like the conductor. Sometimes the conductor gets on your nerves a little bit, but they're patient with me. So I'm very polite, but I'm very persistent. So we do it until we get it. But there's no reason not to be a gentleman about things, But yeah, you need to be persistent. And in the orchestra, I always appreciated when the conductor was super persistent, but super polite at the same time. And he's here to do it, or he's here to do a job. We need to sound good. If we don't practice, we won't sound good, But at the same time, you don't want to be just doing run-throughs and practicing without a plan. So there's a plan. If you're a brass player and you have success, you have a plan. You cannot just play and not have a plan because talent goes away after a while. I mean, it's like you're spending money without investing. If you have $100, you spend $1 every day. After 100 days, you have nothing. You have to put some in the bank, and it's like brass playing, right? So you have to collect your interest a little bit. And anyways, I'm kind of, I think a lot about those things.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's what I think musicians want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to feel like the person cares, but they also respect you, and that they bring better out of you, right? So, okay, let me jump into these rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You ready for the rapid fire lounge? Sure. Okay. Advice to your 18-year-old self.
Oh boy. Relax. That's one, because I was pretty heavy metal, and relax, and I would say relax and get your shit together. That's those two things. Well, you told me I could say it now, so it's finished. I'm saying it.
Of course.
Oh yeah,
of course.
I mean, what 18-year-old has their shit together?
Not me.
So you've made a lot of special recordings. If you had to pick one, and I could be nice and say you can pick one as a conductor and one as a trombonist. If you had to pick one of each, which recording are you most proud of?
I don't know if it's most proud of, but one that's really close to my heart is the recording that's called Conversation. It's a recital with what's not recital? It's a bunch of pieces with piano. It's with Yannick. Yannick and I were, good buddies.
One of my bosses.
yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Who became...
Yeah.
He's
for our listeners, he is now the conductor of the Metropolitan Opera and the Philadelphia Orchestra.
He's a good guy, and he's a good musician.
So he played piano with you.
Yeah. We did one. Yeah, like but
He still
that's
plays piano. Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's that was very special for many like personal reasons. Not personal reason with Yannick. Yannick's a friend. That's fine. But it's very close to my heart that recording. Everything we did on it and our collaboration was beautiful. And but also the fact that also it goes the distance. Saying it was the first time I said, you know what, I'm just gonna play whatever I want to play. I'm not gonna try to play just like I don't have to play deux danses. I don't have to play cinq cents. Or I'm just gonna play whatever I want to play. And I thought like if it moves me, hopefully I can move people. And that's the only and playing with Yannick was always a charm. So it was good. That's the one in classical trombone. That's good. Orchestra up to now. I mean it's kind of the next one because I'm doing a lot of recording with orchestra. I have like 3 that have to come out with Laval right now that are recordings from patrimonial recording, like composers that wrote, like Claude Champagne is a very, very well-known figure here. And he wrote this piece 80 years ago. It's a Gaspesian symphony. Nobody has ever played it, recorded after. So we did it. It's going to come out soon. That I'm excited about. And it's just the first time we're going to make one with Toledo together. It's going to be like, that's going to be probably the one I tell you that. But it's the next one. So, but some people say that, huh? Like Tom Brady, what's his favorite ring is the next one. So the orchestra one will be the next one. Not comparing.
Very
not
cool.
comparing.
Very cool. I look forward to hearing it. So I actually kind of already asked you. You kind of already answered the question of, I was going to say you don't see many trombonist conductors. What unique insights, advantages do you think that gives you? But you talked about the collaborative thing.
And playing inside the orchestra. You have to come from inside to understand.
Playing inside.
You have to understand. You live inside the wave.
Yeah, compared to like a pianist.
I mean, some pianists are fantastic conductor, but if you don't sing or if you're not like inside the wave, it's difficult. Some people are fantastic, but it's such an edge to understand how the wave of the orchestra works. You know, I find it.
And then you answered another one of my questions of what brought you back to the trombone. I'll change this question. What did you miss most about the trombone?
I miss making a sound.
Those 4 years that you didn't play.
I miss making a sound. I miss just, like going, and there's the sound that comes out, and it's like, it's a voice. It's like I lost my voice for a little while, right? And everybody has their own voice, and the sound is everything. It's not like production of tone. It's just, it's like trombone as such. It's funny when I did one of the competition I did when I was young, somebody said, is a pianist, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And then 20 years, 30 years after, I said, I understand. I said, you play with a beautiful, sorrowful tone. I said, this is so cheesy and corny. This is bullshit. And I'm going, you know what? That's what I miss the most. Yeah. Is that voice. Yeah. To have your own voice. Everybody has their voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you have, it's interesting to hear you talk about how growing up you had just like a high range, because when I think about your sound, there's so much, it's such a unique trombone sound, and there's so much depth to it and so much core to it is what I hear. And so that's just like the opposite of what you were describing when you first came.
5 years of my teacher telling me I sounded like shit and I didn't have any low range. That's all I did. So thank you, Joe. But it's Joe Zuskin, my teacher, was like, oh, Alain, and I made my first recording and I gave it to him. And when he left the symphony, sorry, it's another parenthesis, but when he left the symphony, he was still teaching at the conservatoire. And I don't know why I did that. I was weird when I was young. Anyway, he became a little soft because he didn't have the edge of playing every day in the symphony under pressure. And I told him, I said, Mr. Zuskin, I said, if I may, I think you're kind of going soft on me a little bit.
Challenge accepted.
I know. It was
Brave.
awful. But it never stopped. And then I became pro and it never stopped. I gave him my first recording, said, yeah, but this and that. It just, he wasn't able to turn it off after. It's like, oh, I've created a monster. Super nice monster.
I snuck a text to Pete Sullivan during this interview, and he got back to me. I just said that I was talking to you, and he said, tell him that I love him and that he is one of my all-time favorite musicians, and he just remembers so many great concerts together, orchestra and chamber music, even the Christmas brass shows at CBC, he said.
I love Pete. Pete is the best trombone sound ever. He has that beautiful, sorrowful sound. It's like, he has that darkness, and God, we play it so. I love playing second trombone to Pete.
Me too.
I could have done that all my life, I think. It's like, it's like playing second trombone to somebody who has a sound as deep as a second trombone, but plays lead trombone. So you can just, and it all fits. We played this.
It's
so nice.
It's too bad he's such an asshole,
Well, now we're getting into it. Oh, no, it's great. We had, I remember we play like, Mahler 5, and with him as principal, me as second, Pierre and Jimmy Thompson playing principal trumpet, John Zerbo playing the horn. Mm-hmm. And then we go at the tavern, watch the hockey game together. Oh, well, the two of us, not.
That doesn't sound like Pete at
all. No, not Jamie and not Zerbo, but the two of us, we'd go there and watch the Canadiens play, and they used to win in those days, so we'd like to go, but now I don't want that. I don't watch that much hockey anymore, let's say. Anyway, well,
they're gonna take away your citizenship in Canada if that's the case.
Well, I'm not in better shape because I'm in my other my apartment, my other house is in Toledo, right? So that's close to Detroit, the Tigers. Ouch.
That's where I'm from. Be a Red Wings fan.
Well, Red Wings, no problem.
We'll welcome you. It's okay.
I listen. I love the Red Wings. I'm a big Stevie Eiserman fan back in the day, and the
yes.
Russian.
That was when I.
Yes. Yeah. So all the Russian, Fedorov, the Russian defenseman, one of the best hockey team, and Scotty Bowman. I had a plane ride with Scotty Bowman. I had a plane ride with two hockey coaches once. One with Jacques Demers, of course, Detroit as well, and Scotty Bowman, who didn't say. I said, "Hey, I'm a conductor." He said, "Well, okay, thank you, bye." And Jacques Demers, I talked with him for like 40. Well, he's a tough guy, but it's. I'd love to spend like time with Bill Belichick with nobody around. That's the other thing I like to do.
Oh man,
just
I think he would love for no one to be around.
I would be no one. I wouldn't talk. I would just hang there. Just have a vibe of the, how does it work in there? Anyway, whatever. Okay, but that's
exactly. Yeah.
say big. Yeah.
We'll get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure Bill listens.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Unfortunately, my least favorite hockey player of all time is Canadian. I got to tell you.
Oh yeah, who's your
Patrick Waugh?
Your least? Oh, of course, because
Roy.
He keep beating you. That's why.
Detroit.
Yeah, I know. And then he went to l'Avalanche, and then that's your time. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colorado.
The big fights between the Red Wings and the Avs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So.
Welcome back to Trombone Street Hockey Talk with Alain, Nick, and Sebastian. Okay, here's my last question, Nick. This is a new one. I think you might like.
Okay,
and then Nick has a question for you. Okay, there's a billboard that you could write anything on, and the entire world would see it.
Whoa!
What would it say?
Okay, it's very corny. Okay. It would be.
We love it.
Yeah, it would be love and respect each other. We'll love and respect each other.
Love and respect each other.
That's all. Like
we need that now.
I'm not overly religious, but if you take the first commandment, don't do to somebody else. Or no, you know what? That's what I would write. Don't do to somebody else what you don't want them to do to you. And that's enough. You can live your entire life out of that. That saves a lot of reading. But that's it. But for
reading, philosophy, theology.
Yeah, I mean, it's one phrase. Yeah. Anyway, that's for me. Yeah, that's a good question. Wow. Yeah, it got me thinking.
I like that one.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
I definitely stole it from another podcast, but I'm happy to steal it. So go for it, Nick.
Okay, so here's the question I like to ask all our guests is, what do you think that students don't do enough of that they need to do more of?
That's very easy. Listening and going to concerts. Listen, go and listen to, but don't listen to like a bunch of YouTube things. Go to a concert. Because then it's like they, instead of trying to make a girlfriend, they watch porn. It's like, it's like go hear a concert. That's how.
That steals the parental advisory.
No, but seriously, it's like
we got there.
I was on the edge.
No, but seriously, you go to a concert. Have a human relationship. See how it goes in a concert. Notes are missed. Intention is there. Recordings sometimes, you can always first of all fix everything. But you have to, and even if you watch a live broadcast, you're gonna watch a live broadcast from a very big orchestra. They do it 4 times. They pick the best of, they mix it together. You watch that day, but and it's not the same. You don't have the thing, and you have to make the effort. Get off your chair, go in the bus, go in the subway, go to the concert hall, go and listen to it. If that's what you want to do for a living, why don't you go and listen to what you want people to come and do for you after? Which comes back to the billboard. Yeah.
Should put all of that on the billboard too.
But it's true.
We'll get you a big billboard.
I remember when I was a freshman in college, John Rojak, we were in a American Brass Quintet seminar, and someone said, what's it like playing of course, yeah. What's it like playing, all these great recordings, we all love them, blah, blah, blah. And they, the whole quintet said, it's so nice to record. It's a great process. And John Rojak was the only one. He said, of course I like recording. It's important to put these works down and record them. But he said, you as young students, I'm glad you're listening to recordings, but you need to come hear us live because you're going to hear us make mistakes. And then you'll understand that recordings, while they're important, they're not real life. And you need to understand that we're human too. And there's going to be slight mistakes that would never make the recording because we'll do it 10, 20 times until we get it right, And that was the first time I heard someone be real about that. And I thought that was really amazing.
It's like the magic happens at the concert.
Now we can't even get people to listen to recordings.
Yeah.
No, it's just there's magic in a concert. There's something that happens, and and it's our job to make that something happen. That's tough because sometimes orchestra's a little tired, or there's a big negotiation going on, or there's COVID happening. You got to show up, and I'm lucky. I have two orchestras that they live on magic. They're like money players, big time. They just go and boom. But it's like this magic happens if you don't come and see it live. It's exactly what you said. It's not just about the mistake; it's about the magic. But the hearing the mistakes makes you closer to, okay, maybe I could do this for a living. It's not about getting everything perfect, but the magic gives you like, whoa, I got to play with way more purpose than what I'm doing.
Totally.
So Alain, I'm using my Google machine skills. And I'm seeing that Toledo, Ohio is only 3-hour drive from where we have the Trombone Retreat Festival. So what will it take to get you to come visit us sometime in the summer?
I will come. I'll just come by. I
come hang out and get on the boat and have some drinks and
play a solo or two. Or
you made me research what was the third coast. I didn't know that all of this is actually a huge coast. I conducted at the Peninsula Music Festival on the other side of the coast. The one at the but I'm not in the same state. Yeah, in Wisconsin. And I went like, oh, this is beautiful. Now, if it's beautiful like that all the way, it was like, wow. But to hang out with you guys, I absolutely would come. I'm telling you, I listened to your podcast and I was like super moved about. I heard, Wolfenbarger was like, oh wow, I know. Stephen gave me gave me my first international trombone festival break. He's the guy who hired me the first time to play in a festival. So I was like, he always had like this special place for me because he took a chance. I was 22, 23, and nobody knew me. It's like I had maybe a recording out. That's all. Because I'm in my first recording when I was 18. I put the stands, I put the microphones, everything. I hired the orchestra, but but nobody knew it. There was only a few pressing here. It's a big orange LP, with my big face on it. But that's all. But Steven said, hey, I like what you do. Come on. He has a nose. That guy is a great. Well, as we heard on the podcast, scouting is an art form, and he's like the best, And that's some, but listen to your podcast.
Cool. I'm actually visiting him in a couple weeks.
Give him a big hug. Well, not a hug because it's COVID.
Sorry.
But
I will.
From 2 meters away, just give him a hug like this.
Yeah.
But I know I will gladly come and see you guys.
And also, that we'll make it happen. And I'm also looking at the map, and Toledo's so close. So I'm gonna come up and come hear a concert sometime.
Yeah.
So.
Tell all your students we're going to have an audition for second and bass trombone soon.
Really?
Yeah. Our second trombone.
My students too in New York.
Yeah. It's a great place to be. We have a great orchestra. We have a great principal, great sections, great everything, and we play. We have our own platform, our streaming platform. People can see concert live. If they're not coming because of COVID? So we still have activities. Yeah. So lots of great things. It's called Tapa.
All you have to say is the conductor's a trombonist. That's exciting.
Yeah,
in itself. And
Garth, our principal trombone, is amazing. So it's a lot of fun. And but we're gonna there's some jobs opening. So that's but it's it's a joy. Thank you so much for having me, guys. This is your podcast is something special. I've listened to all of them, and I just can't wait for the next ones after
that. Thank you so much.
That means so much. That means so much. And shall I say, Sir Alain Trudel? Is that correct?
Oh, no. Yeah,
should have addressed you properly the entire podcast.
It's not like an OB thing. It's a knighthood, but it's we don't. I don't use it.
It's just a knighthood.
It's for trombone players, not too bad.
That's pretty awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for hanging out and all the contributions you made to the trombone world and to the music world in general. And we're honored that you enjoy our podcast. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Sebastian, do you think we'll ever have a conductor on the podcast again?
Why wouldn't we?
I guess, there's not that many trombone conductors. I guess we got to talk to Ward Stair.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I guess you don't see a lot, though. Every trombonist conductor I've come across has been super solid, but maybe I'm biased.
That's true. We want them to be awesome because they're part of the team. And turns out, as far as we know, Alain is the double threat. Maybe he's a triple threat. Can he sing?
I bet he can. I bet he's just one of those super talented people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's obviously talented, no doubt about that.
And it was cool because, we grew up on his recordings and we knew there was a point in his life, and we had heard rumors that he either wasn't playing anymore or had stopped playing. And I knew he was focused more on conducting, but it's cool to find out that, he came back to the trombone, and of course he's sounding awesome as always. And it's just what a story of everything he went through.
Yeah. And, I told someone recently that, our next episode is with Alain Trudel, and they were like, "Oh, did you talk about his alto trombone CD?" And I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, we definitely talked about it." And the one thing he brings up that's very interesting is that at that time it wasn't so common to play alto trombone as it is now. It was a little less common back then to be an alto trombonist.
That trombone? Why, that's too small. I can't possibly play that. Yeah, I mean, it's scary for most people because first of all, it's hard. Unless to sound really good on it, you need to be devoting a lot of time to it. So first of all, not a lot of trombonists may have one, or they don't have the time or the repertoire or the requirements to be playing it all the time. So it's like, if you want to actually record it and sound good, you actually have to live in that world. And I'm glad he did it because, man, if you guys haven't heard that recording,
yeah, he set the standard.
Absolutely. Speaking of standard setting, I got to visit you this past week. Was it a week ago? Feels like everything runs together.
A week or two. I can't remember now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to hear you play Tosca at the Met, which, as someone who's an opera trombonist, most operas I experience are in the pit. And it's been a while since I was out in the audience. And honestly, I think I may have mentioned this to you. It renewed my faith in my art form. It's really easy to get cynical. And, Paul hooked me up with really awesome seats, like 13th row middle, super, you could see everything in the acting and the singing, of course. And I get it. I got the goosebumps so many times, and I realized this is why people come to this.
Mm-hmm.
And the coolest part, you may want to explain, is the use of contrabass trombone.
Well, yeah, I mean, in Europe, on Puccini operas, on the bass trombone part, because it's 1, 2, 3, and then bass trombone. That's how it's listed. In Europe, they use contra on the bottom, and so after talking to different conductors that say that's kind of the standard across the pond, the Met decided to make that change as well and use contrabass trombone on the fourth trombone part, and it is fun to do. And pedal B flats on a contra can basically turn sound shields back into petroleum.
Yeah, you heard it right from the beginning. So this was the first production of Tosca that the Met has used contrabass trombone,
right?
If I'm correct. And so it was you and Paul Pollard on bass, Denson Paul Pollard on bass, and Weston and Damien that night. And yeah, I very much enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. It was fun. It was really fun. I just played my last one last night, actually.
Very proud of my friend Nicky Pop.
Nicky Pop. Oh. Well, speaking of friendships, my good friend Sebastian just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Sebastian.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I did it again.
Mm-hmm. So the legend and the tale goes that Sebastian was born on a bright, sunny day in Texas with a full head of hair and a full head of teeth.
I don't think either of those things is true.
I like to think it's true, especially the full head of teeth.
What if a baby came out with all of the teeth? How freaky looking would that be?
It's like those fish that you catch that have like human-like teeth.
That never happens, does it?
That
baby have all their teeth when they come out?
No, except for you. No.
Except for me, so I was an anomaly. I do have one unique thing that I was born with. I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the podcast. Do you know about my special random thing?
You were born with a tail.
That was taken off, but I do have what's called that I learned from my orthodontist later in life, what is called a bifurcated uvula.
Oh,
So the thing that, the little dangly thing that hangs in the back of your throat, I have 2 of those. And growing up, I thought that was normal. And then I saw all my friends only had 1. And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me?
okay, hold on. Were you inspecting uvulae?
Well, I mean, when you're in 3rd grade, you ask to see inside your friends' mouths. That's just a normal thing to do.
Sure.
Maybe someone noticed it once and they're just like, you have 2 of those. And I've met one other person in my life that has one, and so now we're good friends. But basically all my superpowers come from that, if anyone was ever wondering.
A split uvula. Maybe that helps with your tone.
Who knows? When I asked my orthodontist about it one day because I was just curious, she's like, "Wait a second, you have one?" And there's like a term for it. And she yelled to everyone else in the office. She's like, "Hey, come look, he has a bifi." And there was like 10 people ran over and looked inside my mouth. I was just like, okay.
Wow.
Thanks. I guess they saw it in their medical textbooks once. I don't know. Basically, when the body's being formed, it just splits. I don't know. Who knows?
I knew you were special.
Yeah. I'll take that. That's my one win. This has been very informative for the Trombone podcast. But yeah, this is one of our long
uvula talk.
I'm going to start a side podcast for bifurcated uvula people, just so we can like all get together. Maybe we can have conventions where we meet up.
Oh man, all like 8 of you.
I wonder what the percentage is. I doubt anyone's ever done a study.
And I wonder if anyone like has that as like a major personality trait of theirs. Like when they meet someone new, they like lead with that.
I'm an Aquarius, bifurcated uvula. So if anyone listening has one, please reach out. We'll talk. We'll talk about this arbitrary fact of my life.
You can meet at the yearly convention, which is at the Airport Radisson in Sioux Falls.
There probably is an Airport Radisson in Sioux Falls. I'm sure it's a lovely establishment.
I've stayed at an airport hotel in Sioux Falls, but it was not a Radisson. I think it was a Hilton.
Oh, that's nicer. That's nicer.
It was glorious.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I've rescued you from microphone depression. I think you're feeling better.
I'm still wanting to throw all my microphones against the wall, including the computer, go back to carrier pigeons and smoke signals.
That would be a very expensive act of aggression.
Yeah. Oh, that made me think of a really expensive mistake I saw. I was teaching at Juilliard Pre-College, and this girl, she put her iPad on the floor, and then she went to scoot her chair over. She like lifted up a little bit to scoot it, and
oh no,
the leg of the chair went right on the iPad, and she sat down, and it's like crack, and it went through the screen and like and screwed up the motherboard, and it was like dead. It was done. And she's like, "My mom's gonna kill me," and I was like, I wanted to comfort her, but I was like, yeah, she probably is gonna kill you just a little bit, you know. Like,
maybe you can turn it into artwork or something.
Yeah.
Couldn't be a nice. Now you're making me think about that one time I got in the hot tub for like 30 seconds with my phone, which is supposed to be water resistant, but then something about the salinity and science stuff.
You pulled the Romero.
Yeah, oh, does he do that?
He did that this summer. Remember his phone?
Oh,
he
right.
went to a hot tub at the Trombone retreat and quickly realized, oh no, my phone's in my pocket.
That should be a verb. Like you Romero'd that.
Usually it's a overwhelmingly positive thing, but it also applies to going into hot tubs with phones.
Speaking of which, we're going to get up some of his recordings from his recital this past summer because it was quite awesome. So we're going to get that up on the YouTubes at some point.
The YouTube. So like, can we put it on MySpace too? 'Cause that's when my technological advancing stopped.
Maybe we'll just have you do all this video editing and stuff because you're so good at technology and you love it.
Oh, it somehow like the files would they would catch on fire. The whole computer would catch on fire.
What if there's like you're actually not bad at technology? There's just like this ghost that follows you around because of like a curse from like your great grandfather, and he's just like fucking with you constantly.
Well, Evan Conroy has a theory that I'm cursed with technology because he's seen it happen, like where there's no way a certain thing can go wrong, and it goes wrong every freaking time I do it. and he was around for something. It was with my PlayStation, and it just like froze and was like couldn't get the disc out anymore. And like it's like all I did was put a disc into it, and it said, and he was just laughing. He's like, "Dude, I've never seen someone with such bad luck with technology." It was actually quite comforting because I felt like I was doing something wrong all the time. But I was glad someone to see that it's just like these things just happen to me, and I don't freaking get it.
You're just a victim, huh?
When it comes to technology, I'm a victim. I will. I'll die on the hill.
But you don't consider that since you believe that so strongly, it propagates that it would happen more often.
I don't like your tone, Mister.
Stuff's powerful. So I hope you've enjoyed this 10 minutes of us talking about completely nothing. And
Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed the Land podcast because he is awesome and he's our friend now. So, and go audition. He's going to have an audition at the Toledo Symphony. I think there's 2 openings, bass trombone and second trombone.
No, second and bass. That's right.
Yeah. How cool would it be to have him as your conductor? That'd be awesome. So if you enjoyed the podcast, tell a friend. Also, please consider being a patron on patreon.com/trombone retreat. And also leaving us a rating and review on iTunes and now Spotify, as it helps us out quite a bit. Follow us at Trombone Retreat on all the social medias and our website, tromboneretreat.com, where you can also join our mailing list and send us an email and tell us that you think we're nice and that Nick is actually really good at technology. He just needs to believe in himself. On Instagram, follow Nick at basstrombone444 and myself at js.vera.
And if you're having a bad day,
unscrew your microphone.
Plug it back in.
And if it still doesn't work,
throw it against the wall.
Write a sonnet.
On papyrus.
And go on ahead and retreat yourself with that papyrus sonnet.
That was good.